The Croats also protested against the decisions of this parliament, and their bishop Grigorij Ninski tried to change them. The Dalmatian Croats all spoke only Serbian and did not understand Latin service. Due to the resistance of the Croats to ban on Serbian language, another council was held in Split in 926, which was again led by papal legates and which confirmed the decisions of the previous council. None of the Serbian nobles participated in that second parliament, so the Serbian side was completely ignored. 2 years later, even the Croatian diocese of Nin was abolished and the activities of all priests who used Serbian languages were banned. Pope John X called Serbian language lingua barbarica. The fifth point of council decisions was to forbid the Bishop of Nin from interfering in the affairs of other bishoprics in which Croats did not live. The Croatian bishop was subordinated to the Archbishop of Split, and the expansion of the territory of the Croatian episcopate was forbidden, so that episcopate was abolished. From all this, the Vatican policy is clear: to separate Croats from Serbs at all costs in order to subdue them more easily. This was the ultimate effect of the Pope's help to Tomislav, who never managed to become an independent ruler and remained the Byzantine toparch for the rest of his life. All of Tomislav's actions were very harmful to Serbs and even more harmful to Croats. At that time, Croats, mostly mixed with Serbs, lived in 11 small parishes, namely Karabina under the Kelebik mountain near Livno, Tezent, Imotski, Pleba, Pesenta, Parlasia, Bribir, Skradin, Nin, Tnen, and Sidraga. The latter, the parish, was between Rijeka and Crikvenica. There were Croats in Lika only in 3 small settlements: Guceka, Lika, and Makoda in the mouth of river Zrmanja. Ostrivojevich dynasty, second period, 926 to 1171. King Pavlimir, the warrior, 926 to 942. In the absence of rulers and strong central administration, Serbia suffered severely from attacks by Byzantium, Hungary, the Arabs, and finally the Bulgarians. Byzantium established its toparchy in Dalmatia. In Rashka, bans and prefects were replaced by Byzantines and Bulgarians, and Hungarians occupied the entire country in northern Serbia between the Sava, Drava, and Danube. The territory of original Serbia, Neretva region, Hum, Trebinje, and Duklja, under Mihailo Višević, held up the best. He was first in an alliance with Bulgarian Emperor Simeon, so in 924 he entered into alliance with the Byzantine Emperor Roman Lakapen, who ceded Dubrovnik and Kotor to him and gave him the title of proconsul. Byzantium was strongly suppressed by Emperor Simeon and considered the alliance with Mihailo Višević to be saving. Mihailo's state was called Serbia, although in fact it was only one part of Serbia. On the word about his alliance with Romanus, Emperor Simeon stopped the war against Byzantium, and in 926 he set out with an army for Serbia. The Bulgarians first entered Rashka, replaced the local prefect and appointed Ljudomir in his place, and then invaded Višević's state. Simeon's incursion into Serbia started Serbs who wanted to restore the kingdom and unity of the state. Therefore decided to seek the return from Rome of the descendant of the Ostrivojevich dynasty, Pavlimir, son of Petrislav and grandson of King Radoslav. One of the descendants of all Dukljan prefects went to pick him up in Dubrovnik, both accompanied by 50 warriors. When Pavlimir arrived in Dubrovnik with that escort, he immediately went to Trebinje and convened a great assembly where he was crowned king of Serbia. Only the representative from Rashka did not come to parliament because the prefect Ljutomir, who was on the side of Emperor Simeon, prevented them from doing so. As the crowning was performed in Trebinje, this city was also declared the new capital of Serbia. Shkoldra was held by Byzantines, and split was the Byzantine toparchy of Toparch Tomislav. Just at the time of Pavlimir crowning in Trebinje, Emperor Simeon besieged the town of Duklja. The new king of Serbia immediately gathered army in Trebinje and marched against Simeon. In Duklja, Simeon was severely defeated, so he had to escape in 926. The following year, Simeon died. After the victory over the Bulgarians, King Pavlimir left for Rashka against the prefect of Ljutomir. He defeated him and the river Lim and then annexed Rashka to Serbia. Then Pavlimir moves north against the Hungarians, expel them from Srem and make peace treaty with them. According to him, the border between Serbia and Hungary was determined west of Srem on river Orljava and upstream of river Sava. The northern border of Srem was on the Danube and on the Drava. Pavlimir goes further through Bosnia to the west all the way to Istria and returns via Dalmatia. The only thing that is known about Toparch Tomislav is that he disappeared in 928, exactly at the time of Pavlimir's passage through Dalmatia. The king appointed a Serb named Chedomir as the new Croat prefect. Due to the great successes, King Pavlimir was given the name the Warrior, in Latin Bellum, which literally means war. The king gave that name to a town in Rashka after the victory over the prefect Ljutomir. After the victory over the Hungarians in Srem, he named the field where the victory was won Campo Bellino. When Western Slavonia and today's Croatia, north of Sava River, remained under Hungarian rule. After church council in Split, the Slavic liturgy was banned in Croatia and held in Slavonia, Dalmatia, Istria, Bosnia and Serbia. Luis Leže here under Croatia means only Zagorje, Croatia. In all these provinces, which he mentioned, the Slavic liturgy was held, thanks to the fact that King Pavlimir united them into a renewed Serbia. King Tjecimir. Tjecimir is the son of King Pavlimir, the warrior, who his father appointed as prefect of Trebinje immediately after his crowning in 926. Tjecimir was married to the daughter of a prefect Chedomir, whom the king later appointed the prefect of Croats. From that marriage he had two sons, Prelimir and Krešimir. In 942, the Venetians tried to occupy some Serbian islands in the Adriatic Sea. There again, as before, the Neretvans were a striking Serbian naval force that drove the Venetians from the Serbian islands. The Venetian Doge, Pietro Candiano III, asked for peace and concluded a peace treaty with the Serbs, which his successor renewed. At that time, Croats in Serbia did not have their own special political or church administration. Mayor Chedomir was only one of the king's officials. In Western Pannonia, Croats were under Hungarians. The only independent Croats are those in Czech Republic and Poland. The Arab writer Al-Masudi, in part Murug at Tanbit, writes in 943 that the people he calls Horvatin are located near the state of Prague, above the Hungarians. The list of the Prague Episcopate from 1086 mentioned two groups of Croats. Croats in Czech lands and Croats in Poland. In 942, King Tjecimir sent his young son Krešimir to replace his grandfather Chedomir in the position of Croat prefect. In Serbia at that time, the arbitrariness was noticed among many nobles, so King Tjecimir had to go with the army from Trebinje and force them all to obey. The Byzantines invaded Rashka and expelled the Ban there. King Tjecimir expelled the Byzantines and in 946 returned the Ban to his position. Around the time of these events, the Ban of Bosnia rebelled and the king sent his sons Krešimir and Prelimir against him with a strong army. Krešimir was then assisted by a Croatian nobleman named Avolo. The rebel Ban of Bosnia was defeated and killed. Prelimir left the administration of Bosnia to his brother Krešimir and returned with the army to Trebinje. As Ban, Krešimir ruled over Bosnia and Liburnia. After some time, Krešimir ceded the Bosnian Banat to his illegitimate son, Leljeh, and he retained only the administration of Liburnia. Having received Bosnia under administration, Krešimir became Ban from the prefect, so he retained that title when he handed over the administration over Bosnia, calling himself Ban of Croatia. Thus, Krešimir Oštrijevich became the first Ban of Croatia, which at the time meant Liburnia. About what Croatia was and what Liburnia was, Perico de San Marie is very precise. He says that Croatia corresponds to Liburnia, and then says that Liburnians were from river Zrmanja to the river Krka. It should be noted that even at that time Liburnia was inhabited not only by Croats but also by Serbs. A distinction was still made between Slavs and Croats.